Welcome back from lunch. Well, it's been a heck of a ride. We've gone through 3/4 of the MFEA 2020 convention, bringing back the fun in 2021. We're going to wrap it up strong. We've got Dave Lorenz is going to be our keynote speaker to kick off this session. Before we go to that, though, I just want to let everybody know we still got some great breakout sessions to attend after Dave's done. We also have our showcase this evening, and our headliner for tonight is going to be Grand Funk Railroad going to be joining us, so you want to be able to attend all that. Dave has also agreed to do Q&A after his presentation, so if you got any questions, please enter them into the chat, and I'll be able to share them with Dave as soon as we're done. So before any further ado, Mr. Pure Michigan himself, Dave Lorenz.
Thank you, Mike. What an intro. Hey, everybody. I hope your day is going well. I hope these last couple of days have been both instructional and informative, but also a lot of fun for you. That is, after all, what this sector of the industry is all about, is having fun and bringing people together. And if there's ever been a time when you're going to be needed, it's going to be this next year. What I'm going to do today is kind of do a little kind of flashback to this last year. Probably the last thing you want to hear about is how this last year has gone, and be reminded about that. But I'll tell you a little bit about what we've been going through together since basically about the last year, and then talk a little bit about what we're doing at Pure Michigan in the future to try to help encourage people to safely travel and to get out there. A little bit about our work that we've done to allow events and festivals to get back to business at the right time. And then I'm hoping you do have some thoughts and some questions and some comments as we get to that point as well. So let me try to share the screen, see if I can figure out how to do this. I tend to do it wrong, so we'll see what I figure out here. Let's see. I got to make sure to share the right screen. Are you seeing the right screen, guys? It says Pure Michigan 2020 Challenge and Change.
Yes, we are.
Very good. Thanks, Mike. Isn't that the truth? 2020 has been a year that has brought with it a lot of challenges, a lot of problems, a lot of anxiety, and the need for a lot of change. As we were ready to kind of go into the 2020 year for the travel and tourism season, I knew that we'd be all dealing with some big issues. Never did I expect they'd be as big as they've turned out to be, but I expected this to be a year of stormy weather, and it certainly has been. And you think about, we started this year with no funding for the Pure Michigan partnership program. The whole idea about having dollars to help promote travel and tourism just kind of dissipated on October 1st of the prior year, when our budget was vetoed by the governor. There was a disagreement between the administration and the legislature on issues for funding roads, and somehow Pure Michigan got in the middle of that, and they were never able to resolve it. So we went through the year without funding for promotional efforts. Interestingly enough, we were just about to get funding for that effort. At least $15 million was being put together. The legislature and the governor kind of behind the scenes figured out a way to get us some funding. And then COVID really hit. We started to hear about COVID in January and February, and at the travel conference, I mentioned that was one of the things that I was concerned about this coming year, but never did I imagine that it would hit as hard as it did. And among other things, that caused the intentions for us to get some funding to disappear. And I was one of the first people to say, makes a lot of sense to me. We're not going to be advertising to Travel Michigan for a while. So that happened. And we also knew that we'd be dealing with challenges for the high water levels that have been causing a lot of problems in our communities, and politics. Think about how divided we've been as a country with our politics. we're a 50-50 country, kind of a moderate country. And again, that has been a real problem for us this year with all the politicians, I think, kind of intentionally dividing us, unfortunately. And that's certainly been a big negative, instead of bringing us together, as I would hope they would really try to do. So what we decided to do in this very difficult time is to use the Pure Michigan brand to bring us together, to use that brand for what it could be, for how it could be used in this very unique time. The Pure Michigan brand was developed with the idea that, hey, we are all one. We all want a better life for our kids and our grandkids. And if we think about who we are as a state, the state with abundant natural beauty, with unique experiences to offer, with really interesting places that have a real story to tell, and with friendly people, we felt that we could use that brand in a different way, considering all these other challenges and the fact that we didn't have any money anyway. So we went to work on trying to put together a campaign, so to speak, to unite the state. And as part of that effort, we started to gather virtual experiences to try to get people to dream about the future at the worst time, when we were all shut up in our homes and we weren't allowed to travel. We weren't allowed to go any places except for maybe shopping, and we had to do that carefully, as we do today. We knew that we needed to inspire a sense of hope, to use the brand to do that. So we gathered up live camera opportunities that are all around the state, especially like WMTA has offered a lot of live cameras, and others. We talked to destinations around the state and said, tell us what you offer for virtual experiences. And let's get people dreaming about the future, about the better times. Let's get them hoping for a better time. And let's try to provide that vision that we will get through this thing. It'll take some time, but we will. And we can start looking toward the future for better times. So we developed what we called our One Pure Michigan campaign. We went to billboard companies. These are 2 sample billboards that were produced. Remember, we had no money. So we went to our agency of record and said, listen, we don't really have any money, but can you develop this campaign based on this unity? We're thinking One Pure Michigan. Let's demonstrate the fact that, yes, we're people of 2 peninsulas, but we're one Pure Michigan. We might be a people of very different political positions, very different in a lot of ways, but in the reality, in the most important way, we're one people. We're one Pure Michigan. So we developed this campaign. We went to the billboard companies and said, hey, would you consider putting this up? We have no money to pay you. Will you consider that? And they did. Many of them did. We went to TV stations and said, we've got this idea for an ad that we can put together just using our staff. And it's not going to be a slick campaign ad. It's just going to be using our staff. So we put together a couple of ads, actually, and I wanted to show you this ad. Here it is.
Do you have a phone?
Go fish. Gone fishing. It's a sign that means we've locked up and headed off to do something we love. Gone sailing. Gone biking. Gone golfing. Gone climbing. Gone wandering. Pure Michigan.
The interesting thing is, Tim Allen is the voice of the Pure Michigan campaign, and that voiceover you heard in that ad was from a radio ad that we had produced long ago. It just seemed to really fit into this message where we could talk about the things that really make Michigan special and then showcase it in a different way, like gone climbing, and you see a daughter or a son climbing on their mom or dad, whatever it was, and gone golfing, you see the guy, doing the putting in the living room. The whole idea was to get people, again, dreaming, thinking about the future, and thinking about it in a positive way. And as we went through this different layer of the pandemic, and we were about to be kind of released to be able to travel again, we put another version together, and this is that second version.
Some places make us feel like we instantly belong, where the first thing we feel is the calm. We just feel at ease. And the only rule is to just make it up as we go along. Exploring world-class shipwrecks, or pulling up a chair at the local restaurant to share our stories. So let's go to the place that invites us to make it our own. Our place in Pure, Michigan.
So that was that second version of that kind of hope-inspiring campaign that we put together. So we kind of got to that point then where people were starting to be released from their isolation at home, so to speak. And then we knew that it would be very important to try to inspire a sense of not just thinking of one another, like, hey, you started to hear, wear a mask, it's good for you. But we felt that because of the politicization of all of this stuff, that we needed to kind of change the conversation into, let's think about other people instead of just saying you have to do this for you. Let's kind of get to the core of the issue. Is we need to do all we can to keep each other safe, to not unintentionally get somebody else sick, in other words. So we worked with a whole bunch of people in the travel industry. We worked with more than 400 experts in the field. Many of you on this meeting today were called into action around Memorial Day, and we asked you to put together a bunch of safety protocols, and we did. And then we posted them on the industry website. The idea was to not only make sure that the industry knew what to do to keep each other safe, but that those employees knew that they could come to work in a safe environment, and that people knew that they could travel around, because we needed to re-engage the travel with a whole thought about being able to travel safely and the fact that you could. We needed to kind of pivot that One Pure Michigan campaign into one of encouraging people to do the right thing to keep each other safe. So all those protocols were put into place. It was an amazing amount of work that people did. I mean, hundreds of people coming together to figure out what we need to do on the various niches of the industry to allow for distancing and sanitation and hygiene and all the other things. And then we presented that to the administration, trying to encourage them to kind of open up in a variety of ways. I can't say we were really successful there because they looked at their own protocols and their own process, but we were trying to open up the industry in as safe a manner as possible and as soon as we could, so we could get people back to work. And we felt that we needed to add one more layer to that, and that was to ask people to take a pledge that they were going to do all they could to keep each other safe, to make sure the work environment is safe for workers and for the employers, to make sure that anywhere that we were asking people to go to was going to be as safe as possible, and to make sure that those travelers knew what the expectations were on their part as well. Because if the travelers were going to come in and just say, I'm coming here and I'm not going to wear a mask, well, that ruins the whole thing, and that the whole safety protocol falls apart. So we asked people to take that Pure Michigan pledge, and we're still asking you to do that, by the way. If you go to michigan.org, the very top of the page, it says Travel Safely in Michigan, and click on that and then scroll down. You'll see that Pure Michigan pledge link, and then you can download some graphics and such you can put on your window, and basically just says, hey, I've taken this Pure Michigan pledge and we're asking you to do as well. So think about that as you go along. And then we were able to do a little more promotion, even without budget, to encourage people to travel. So I've actually been traveling around the state when schedule allows with the under the radar guys, Tom Dalden and Jim Edelman. I know they spoke to your group yesterday. They're a great couple of guys, and they have a lot of influence in the travel industry. So we started to record short little videos around the state saying, hey, this is how you do it. You can go to places, in this case, like Castle Farms. Maybe you have a big event you want to have there, a wedding or whatever it might be. They have come up with these safety protocols to make it possible for you to do this. So you should be aware of this. We're hoping this will make you feel a little more comfortable to be able to get out there and to do these things. And we're continuing to record those videos and post them on michigan.org. And now that we do have some budget, We were granted $15 million in budget, started October 1. As we put together all of our other marketing campaign plans, we're going to not only produce these safe to travel videos, but we'll be pushing them out socially, as well as, of course, putting them on Michigan.org and other websites. So this coming year, soon, we'll be able to do some advertising. And some of our approaches that we had planned are going to make a pivot as well under the new environment. We know that we need to continue at the right time this coming season to encourage people to travel. And we had developed last year a campaign that we called Meanwhile in Michigan. This was all about trying to encourage people to go to lesser known places, because places like Traverse City and South Haven and so many others, popular places like Munising, were just becoming overrun with travelers on those busy summer weekends. So we were trying to say, listen, go to other places that maybe you don't know about, and starting to introduce that thought to them. Well, now, at least for the interim, we're going to need to continue to talk about, going to other places, but maybe with other goals in mind. Go to places where you can easily distance, because there aren't many people there. You can still enjoy a really great experience. You can still eventually go to fun activities and festivals that, really celebrate those communities. So we'll be trying to encourage people to go to some of those lesser known places, lesser known events as they start to open up. I want to give you an example of how we did that this last year. So for instance, in busy places like Chicago, they want to get out of their state. They want to get out of their city. And they did come to Michigan this summer. They're going to want to continue to do that now that many people were exposed to Michigan in a new and different way. They're going to want to continue to explore. So I envision that, our campaign will be more regional and not just in-state. We're not going to be able to do a nationwide campaign, but we'll do our best in the region with that $15 million budget. So you're going to hear, at least they are going to hear, ads like this.
It's Thursday, and usually that means leftover day. A day eating whatever you have left over until you find time to get to the store. Hello, Mr. Microwave. Meanwhile, in Michigan, Thursday is charter boat fishing day. The walleye and trout are teeming. There's even a waterside restaurant in Leland to clean and cook your catch of the day. It's so delicious, there's never anything left over. It's Thursday in Leland, in pure Michigan.
Tim Allen loves that Leland area. In fact, he has a house up in that region and spends all summer long. So he was happy to read that ad. The thing about Tim, he truly loves Michigan. We've been blessed to have him as the voice of the campaign. It's important to me to kind of have a little side note here to tell you that he's not our spokesperson. I'm our spokesperson. He voiced an ad for one of the candidates this year. I expected I would be deluged with a lot of complaints about that. That's his right. I mean, he can support whoever he wants, and he was hired to do a voice work. Good for him. Whatever. It's the way it is. And I get very disappointed when people say to me, well, I'm not going to support you because the voice of your ad, supported somebody else. A little thing called freedom of speech is really important. So I'll continue to support him in his rights to have his freedom of speech as well. So back to so basically lesser known communities. This is an example of these short little videos that we've been developing that we'll be using on digital mostly. So you might see these as you look through Facebook or whatever. Let me go back to this and see if I can get this one to work real fast.
Somewhere, someone has been holding for 43 minutes on line 1. Meanwhile, in Michigan, someone has a fish on line 1. Right now, we could all use a little pure Michigan.
And isn't it true, after all these challenges we'll be dealing with, isn't it true you could use a little relaxation, a little pure Michigan? That's going to be the message that we communicate to people. It's been a very divisive year in so many ways, very challenging year. We know that there's a lot of promising vaccines on the way. Our own Pfizer Corporation, based in the Kalamazoo area, has some very promising opportunities for us all. We're going to get through this. We will get around this thing. We're going to be able to have events. We're going to be able to have festivals again. We'll be able to gather together again. We need to have that opportunity. We need to be able to do that. It's so important to us, just for our own psyche and for communities and for the financial benefit of communities as well. So we'll get there. There's some things we need to keep on our radar, though, as trends to watch out for. It's interesting. I thought many of these trends would be critically important this year. Well, we've kind of gone through this year pause of travel trends and everything to do with the travel industry because of what we've all been through. So the trends that I thought would be popping as most critical this year, I think are basically just going to be delayed for a year. If you look at that top left, you can see the fact that, there's a little story about wheelchair access, for instance. Accessibility is going to be more important over time. Baby boomers are getting older. They don't like to see themselves as being a member of the disabled community, but they're finding it more difficult to get around. And then there are people in the disabled community who want to be part of our activities and our events as much as anybody else. So I'm hoping our festivals and events and our entire travel industry goes beyond ADA compliance and finds ways to be more welcoming to the disabled community. It's going to be necessary if we want to be successful, because not only is this the right thing to do, it's good business. So that's going to be something that's going to be critically important. In the center, you can see that person talking to their phone. Well, it used to be we would say your trip begins at michigan.org. Our whole approach is changing with all of our advertising, because today all you have to do is use your phone, because you can say, I saw that Travel Michigan ad, that Pure Michigan ad about maybe Traverse City. And you say, hey, whatever your application is, I don't want to set off all your phones. Tell me about this town, Traverse City or whatever it is. So we're trying to get a handle on that, how we can make sure that the content that we want shared with people is front and center, even with voice search and things. So we're looking at that, how to do it. Pet travel will be more important than ever. People are expecting to be able to travel with their pets more than ever, specifically dogs, small dogs. So we need to be aligned for that. And we're going to do all we can to make sure the industry is prepared for that we change policies that allow for this to happen to a greater degree. And the industry is going to be encouraged to do that. Bottom right, multi-generational travel. That is something that we started seeing popping up a few years ago, where parents were so busy, but the grandparents and the grandkids were going on trips, going to events. I remember as a small child, my grandfather would take me to the county fair, and that was some of the best times I had as a kid. That's one of my most valued memories of being with him, was going to an event, a festival. And so this will be something that I think that event holders and festival holders should kind of keep in mind, to try to take that into consideration, that you're going to see more of these multi-generational trips, and you're going to want to try to cater to them. Bottom left was just a reminder that Pure Michigan needed to be funded, and glad to see that we are. We're also finding that international travel has been drastically, it's been stopped. International travel has been stopped. We'll eventually get there. We had to pause all of our international marketing efforts during this whole time. Just last week, my marketing director, Kelly Wolgamont, and I were involved in what's called Brand USA's Global Marketplace. Typically, we would have gone to Germany for the big sales show. We would have gone to the UK for the big travel operator sales show, but those didn't happen this year. But we can't just disappear from the sales functions to get people prepared to travel here. So we've started to re-engage back in Germany and the UK, Germanic-speaking countries, UK and Ireland. China, our effort was going so well. It's going to be a while before the Chinese traveler is even going to be welcome here because of the virus. A lot of people will blame the traveler, which is ridiculous, but they will. So they're not going to feel comfortable for a while to come back to America. But we'll get back into that game again when the time is right. In Canada, of course, the border's still closed. Looking forward to that border being open when it can be done safely. And that's critically important to us. And we'll continue to be prepared, and we'll start our marketing effort there this coming spring, I believe. Airbnb, you see in the middle. The sharing economy conversation continues. In fact, there are a couple of Senate proposals to assess Airbnb properties as hoteliers are assessed right now, where dollars at the hotel level go into your local destination marketing organization to promote your visitation to your activities and such. I know there are some proposals to tax or assess users of Airbnbs and other sharing economy venues, and the dollar's going to Pure Michigan. I don't know. We'll see what happens there. I appreciate the idea. I just don't know if that's the proper solution. So we'll see. We'll keep our eye on that, and we'll chime in to try to make sure that any policy changes make sense for everybody. Top right is just a reminder that especially after what we've gone through with COVID, but even before this, we were starting to see an interest in health travel. Hey, I'm the last guy in the marathon, but I like to run. And when I travel, I like to find either places to run or groups to run with. So that's going to be something that people are looking for. You know, the whole health thing may not be the major motivator for them to travel, but they'll want to find activities and events to travel and be part of. Meanwhile, big race events, biking, running, triathlons and such, many of the events that you are the managers of, they're going to be, I think, really popular for a while, because people have now, during COVID, just as a release, as a good physical and mental release, they've started to do hiking, and that's kind of led to biking and running, and now they're seeing themselves as maybe people who can participate in these big activities. So be looking for that to be more important and bigger events in the future as well. And then the bottom left is just a reminder that you know, we were starting to have the conversation with the education community that, remember, we had this law in Michigan, still do technically, that schools can't start until after Labor Day. Well, there have been so many loopholes put into there that a lot of schools are starting before that. The industry wanted that to make sure that families could travel during the summer months, that are our warmest months, the time that people really want to be able to travel, that they could without having schools starting in a variety of different times. I never liked the fact that our industry basically forced our way into that conversation rather than talking to the industry in a more deliberate fashion to intentionally try to find a way to find this good mixture between what's best for students and what's best for families, what's best for the industry. So we're going to continue to have that conversation. We'll eventually come up with a solution. I'm confident to get that done as well. I want to show you, in wrap up, a video that we produced for the travel conference, to wrap up the travel conference in January. I find it almost prescient. Again, we never knew how big our challenges would be. We knew we'd have them. So I want to show this to you today to wrap up this conversation.
We live at a time full of challenges. But challenges are what built this brand in the first place. Pure Michigan was born at a time when people needed to be reminded of what's really important. And now, with so much anxiety in the news, Pure Michigan is needed more than ever. So whether we're East Side, West Side, or UP, bleed maize and blue or Spartan green, born here or new to the ranks, we need to work together. This is the state that created travel for everyone, that got America moving, discovering. So let's be ready for new trends and new thinking, and get ready to welcome today's travelers from all ways of life. And let's work to make sure Pure Michigan is welcoming, available, and accessible for all. So let's open our shops, hotels, and communities, but mostly our hearts. 2020 is the perfect time for one vision to bring together this amazing state.
And I believe that vision is Pure Michigan, a brand that was built to unite, a brand that was built to bring us together, a brand that was built to encourage people to live their lives fully, with purpose and with passion. I know it's been difficult for the festivals and events world especially. I can't think of, in fact, I'm going to try to get out of this sharing here. I can't think of a time when it has been more difficult for the industry. But we are going to get through this thing. I have absolute confidence that vaccine will come, that people will be able to start to travel again, that we're going to be able to have our events, because we have to have them. They're a way to celebrate community. They're a way to gather together. And I think that one of the reasons that we're so divided right now is that literally we're not together. That's what festivals and events do. They bring us together, and I want to thank you for all that you do.
Thanks, Dave. That was very insightful. I really appreciate that. I do have some questions, though. Nancy has asked the question as, do you think in 2020 that more Michiganders vacationed in-state versus out-of-state? And do you see that trend to continue in 2021?
Yeah, thanks. And hey, I apologize for looking like an Andy Warhol here. The sun changed. I'm sitting on my porch, which I've been trying to do all summer long as much as I can, because, you know, it's not going to last forever. Happy to answer that question, Mike. There's no doubt that Michiganders, and in fact, all the research shows that all around the country, travelers started to feel more comfortable about traveling, but they didn't want to go far. They didn't want to get on a plane. And I'll tell you, I feel comfortable in planes. The problem is having to go through airports and all those touch points and all those people gathering together. It's getting better, and I don't discourage air travel right now because of all the things the airlines are doing. But it's going to be a while before people feel comfortable to travel far from home. And that's where these festivals and events are going to be able to play a role early. As soon as we can have them again, you're going to be deluged with kind of locals wanting to stay relatively close to home. This last summer, we used every opportunity, even without budget, to get to the media. A lot of public relations, a lot of media relations efforts. I can't tell you how many media interviews I did to try to inspire people to still stay in the state, to travel, to support businesses, than that I have done this last year. So I expect that's going to continue. And right now, I know it's hard to think about right now because it's beautiful outside, very comfortable. But before you know it, we'll be back into that cold snap. It'll come and then it will stay. If we don't continue to encourage people to stay in the state, to go to restaurants safely, to go to retailers, to go to attractions, to go to venues that provide entertainment, if we don't do that this winter, we're going to lose thousands of businesses. We've already lost, hard to believe, like 2,000 restaurants in Michigan during COVID. So we're going to do all we can to encourage people to stay in the state, to do it safely, to take that Pure Michigan pledge. I think that's going to continue on into the next year. As the election is now, I don't know if you've heard, most media sources are now saying Joe Biden has won the election. So that might still be challenged, but let's hope, however these things end up, that we can try to have more conversation about coming together, less rhetoric about splitting apart. And it's going to take a while, even if that happens, for people to feel comfortable traveling far. The U.S. Travel Association, I'm on the board of directors. We have a plan in action to talk to the incoming administration about a 100-day plan to try to get people traveling again safely and to feel comfortable doing so. Even then, I think it's going to be a while. So a lot of our 10 million folks are going to stay in Michigan. We're going to continue to try to bring people from the region into the state, but we'll also try to encourage people to travel throughout the state. I think this will be one more year where we can take advantage of that. Then beyond that, as people feel comfortable, as COVID, let's hope, is beaten to some degree, to the degree that it can be, people start to feel comfortable traveling again, then it will be important for us to market to a greater audience nationally again, and we'll be advocating for more budget for us at the time when the time is right in about a year.
Thanks, Dave. Another question is, how do you feel the feelings are in the state of Michigan amongst the tourism industry and for those travelers? Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it apprehensive? And if it's going to be anything other than positive, when do you? I'm going to ask you the question that I get asked all the time, because I know that I don't have the crystal ball, but you do. So when are we going to feel comfortable enough to resume normal activities?
Yeah, Mike, I literally always start that out with, I don't have a crystal ball, so you beat me there. That said, I tell you, I'm not right about much, but I've been right about most of this COVID environment when it comes to travel sentiment. I did expect that when we were allowed to travel, coming out of a long winter, a cool spring, a wet spring, I did expect that people would start to get out there, that Michiganders would mostly stay in Michigan, we would travel. I was a little disappointed, in fact, more than a little disappointed, that people didn't take the mask mandates and the mask requests seriously, because they just simply didn't, accept it. They saw it as political. Big error in all of our parts. Because, remember, at first we didn't know that masks would make a difference. And then finally, hey, we figured that one out. But still, there was so much rhetoric about it being political and everything. That was a big problem. But still, people did travel. And anywhere north of the Knuckles, people were traveling big time on the lakeshore communities like Chicago and Indianapolis, Cleveland. They were trying to escape their states, their big cities, and they were going into various places in Michigan, especially along those corridors. The Upper Peninsula had gangbuster business, northern Michigan, gangbuster business. But now as we go into this colder weather, as COVID is picking up, it's going to be harder for us to continue that momentum. But I am positive that we've been able to kind of extend travel through the fall. We were trying to communicate that, listen, fall is going to be the new summer in a lot of ways because of the need for virtual education in a lot of communities and the opportunity to virtually work. The fact is, for many of us, we can continue to travel now. Look at this weekend. So people have been able to travel into the fall. They've been able to do virtual work during the day and enjoy the evenings. Maybe their kids, traveling with kids for the first time ever. This is a tremendous opportunity for us, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us to try to encourage people who are in these situations to continue to travel and to use that travel experience as an educational experience for their families, and still to be able to do all their work and to enjoy themselves and relax and get outside and get some fresh air in a new environment. And by doing that, keeping our industry alive, keeping those businesses going, and keeping those jobs going. We're going to try to do the same thing with winter. We have a retail campaign that we'll be launching sometime soon, sometime after Thanksgiving. This is going to be a campaign, assuming we can still launch it along our schedule. It'll all depend on the COVID numbers. But we're going to try to encourage people to support their Michigan businesses as a patriotic duty, and it is. We'll do our best. I think that's going to have an impact. I also think that our winter campaign that we'll be launching probably the first day of winter, December 21st. We wanted to start it earlier. We just don't have the budget, and we need to look at those COVID numbers, make sure we can launch it. But we're going to try to get across the message that you can get up and enjoy winter. We have some really innovative things we're going to do starting that first day of winter. And that will have an impact. Maybe that will inspire people to get out there and do things they haven't done in the past. The thing is, in wintertime, all these snowbirds, they go down to Florida and Alabama. I've never been one of those people. I've always stayed here. I love snow. Winter's my favorite time of the year, and I know how weird that is, but it just is. We're going to try to encourage more people to change their travel pattern. We know that a lot of people have left the state for warmer weather. We're going to try to say, listen, you've been missing out. Use this winter for the first time to enjoy it, as people like I always have. And maybe that will change some multi-generational travel patterns. Those kids enjoy winter skiing or snowmobiling or ice climbing or dog sledding or just being on a beautiful trail in the wintertime. We're going to do our best to keep them here, and I think we'll have pretty good success. That said, 2021, I've done a forecast, and I'm not a researcher, I'm not an economist, but I just look at both the numbers, and I think a pretty good feel for travel sentiment. If we get to about 70% of 2019 travel volume and travel spending levels, we'll be doing well, and we'll be doing better than the rest of the country, I believe. So we're going to do our best working with the industry to get people traveling again. And as I mentioned earlier, what you do is going to play a critical role of people's sentiment. If they feel better about life and about the possibilities to live life, they will feel better about travel, about spending money. And that's where festivals and events play such a huge role. You may not know that we've been marketing festivals and events in a lot of ways. One thing we need from you is for you to give us information, about your events, your festivals, to go to michigan.org and do a search. If you don't find your festival event in our website, that means we don't have updated information. Go to the bottom of the page, click on travel industry. You'll find a section where you can download your information about your event. You'll get a property page, so to speak. And then you can download event information, your website links, images, videos, all these things. And then from that content that goes onto our website, we then use that to cross-promote in a variety of ways, both within the website, on our social media, on our advertising, on our public relations, our media relations, our radio show, our magazine. It all starts with that placement on michigan.org. If you do that, you're going to help move us forward next year. And we will get to that 70% and maybe better. Wouldn't that be nice?
Thanks, Dave. You actually answered not only that question, but about 2 or 3 other ones. So congratulations on multitasking. The winter activities was one that they were looking at. The question is for advertising and marketing. And I can tell you that there are a number of our winter activities of festivals that are looking at continuing their events this year, but obviously scaling them back going into February. Just looking to see, and obviously we know that the budget isn't as robust as we had hoped it would be, better than it was, but not as robust as we hoped it would be. Will there be a stronger push for winter activities such as the festivals and events that happen in the wintertime, the ski resorts, the snowmobiling? I appreciate the fact that you said that festivals and events are a major part of tourism, and we feel that we are a partner of Michigan, of the Pure Michigan campaign, because without working together, we're nothing. So back to the original question, do you anticipate there'll be a stronger push for winter activities?
Yeah, as soon as we can promote real activities, of course, if they're virtual, we'll do that as well. But we are especially looking for events to promote that are in real, attendance format. People are starving for this. And it's interesting because, this whole conversation, I can't tell you how many times I've had a festival or event holder who has said, gee, I wish Pure Michigan would do an ad for us. Well, it's important to realize it's not about the ad, because the ads are usually produced, like a TV ad costs maybe $350,000, $400,000 to produce, one 30-second ad, especially when you're using talent like Tim Allen and the Cider House Rules music and all that. So we can't do an ad about a festival that happens 1 week in the year. We can promote the community and livelihood and just kind of like the atmosphere. But from the advertising that is out there, that gets a lot of sets of eyes going to our website. It gets people to travel to those communities. They often will go to michigan.org to find out what else is happening at certain times once they're exposed to that community. So what people will do, and we've designed the website just this way, they may not know where specifically they want to go, but when they come to michigan.org, maybe they're into music, for instance. So they'll do a search in a variety of ways on our website. Maybe they'll go to things to do at the top. Maybe they'll go to the events section. The events section, by the way, is the most popular section on michigan.org. So if you're not there, they can't find you. So they click on the events section, and then they put in, I'm going to be in Grand Haven. I'm going to be there first week in August. Anything happening? Well, it turns out that's Coast Guard Festival week. I've been involved with that festival for a long time, and I'm proud that I have been. It's what gave me a lot of insights about festivals and events. So the thing is, again, if your information is not on the website, people won't find it. They're searching for that. They want to know about it. So the advertising that's out there is then supported not only by the website, but by public relations efforts, media relations efforts, social media, digital, and such. If your information is there, then when we go to talk to media, quite often they say to us, hey, can you come out and talk about events happening this coming weekend or this coming month? Almost always, that's what TV and radio stations want to hear. I do weekly interviews in multiple media outlets where I get to talk about events and festivals and such. Right now, it's been pretty tough. So I've been talking about generic things. But we need to find more information like that to talk about. The more you give us, the more we'll promote in a variety of ways. We also have our radio show, the magazine. Again, we need to know what you're doing so we can help promote that. And some of that means long lead time. So for instance, with our magazine, we'll need a year ahead of time so we can get images and such about a certain event, and then we tie that into other stories in that magazine. So just got to be there.
Dave, another question, the Michigan Pledge, or the Pure Michigan Pledge, and the fact that Michigan is a safe place to travel. You mentioned that you presented that to state administration. Has that gone anywhere? I mean, because I really think that is key, not only for our out-of-state guests coming in, but also for our in-state to feel that we are these members have taken this pledge to make sure that it's safe for you to participate in their activities. Is that? I wasn't sure where you were with that.
Yeah, so there are a couple of things like that. First, I'll talk about the Pure Michigan Pledge and then the protocols themselves. Well, I'll do it backwards. I'll do the protocols first because they came first. We developed all these safety protocols niche by area. So there's a whole section, and I hope you're aware of this, on michigan.org. Click on that safe travel in Michigan, safely travel in Michigan, something like that link right at the top. Click on that and then scroll down. You're going to see safety protocols. There's a whole section on festivals and events. And there were like more than 100 people, John Witz and Diana Stampler, and I forget who else headed up that team, sorry, that had all these volunteers put together all these safety protocols. All of them make sense to me. And they would allow us to hold events and such. And then they go to the administration. I can tell you that we were hoping the administration would kind of certify all these protocols. We never got there. And there's the problem with the perception, number one, of if the administration were to approve them. I know immediately they were concerned that people would say, okay, you've accepted these, we're doing it, so let me open this thing up. Well, according to their numbers, they were looking at, numbers of cases and such, trying to keep them down. So basically, they wanted all these protocols in place so people knew how they could safely open up. But until those numbers were down for other data they were looking at, they weren't going to allow people to do it yet. So we never got protocols technically certified by the administration, but they did say, oh yeah, these are all great. Move forward, share them with the industry, make sure they're doing that, because the time will come. The Pure Michigan Pledge, typically we for instance go to the governor and say, hey, can you really push this out and show support for this? The problem is the whole issue of politics the COVID became so political, or at least perceived as being political. So we didn't want any politicians to be stamping their approval on the Pure Michigan Pledge. We want communities to do that. We want businesses, we want events, we want individuals. We want chambers of commerce and convention visitors bureaus to take that Pure Michigan Pledge. And many communities have taken their own version of that. So the Pure Michigan Pledge, that committee was headed up by Pat McGinnis, the Grand Haven city manager, fellow I've known for a long time. And I knew he had so much influence and insight in this area of how to, make sure communities are run safely. And then Larissa Draves from Michigan Association of Convention Visitors Bureaus and all those interesting insights that she would have. And then again, all those great ideas. And the Pure Michigan Pledge is kind of it kind of merges all these basic safety protocols into a short, easily understandable, easily presentable document, so to speak, that has some graphics to it. So if you download it, you can see, hey, these are easy. Keep your hands safe. Bring your hand sanitizer. Wear your face mask when indoors or outdoors in busy places. Distance as much as possible. And if you're sick, stay home. There you go. That's basically it. And think of others. Be kind. That's basically it. So that's the Pure Michigan Pledge. And if you can't accept that, well, I just don't understand that. These are the basic things that now we know we should do. And if we just do this, we can beat this thing. So we're hoping that people will take that seriously, and we're trying to encourage people to take it, to adopt it. Last I checked, we had around 500 businesses who had adopted the Pure Michigan Pledge. We need everybody. So please spread it around and encourage people to take it and to let us know that they're doing that.
Thanks, Dave. That's good stuff. You had mentioned something earlier, and I can tell you, being involved with Chamber of Commerce's and Convention Visitor Bureau, and now this position here, the Pure Michigan campaign has always been, I remember being in Flint, Michigan when the first commercial came out that we were able to see, and you looked around the room and there wasn't a dry eye in the place. I mean, we've all adopted that as kind of our anthem. And when you hear that music and you hear that voice, that's synonymous with Pure Michigan. And in addition to that, you know, some of the guys that you hang around with, the UTR guys, one of the shows that I saw them do recently did the same thing to me personally, and that was when they went around, they showed they didn't show all, they only showed 5 businesses in the state of Michigan that managed to take COVID and turn it around and become successful businesses because of their ingenuity, which I think is exactly what we're talking about here today. In Michigan, we get kicked a lot. And we get held down and pushed to the side, but we always come back stronger than ever. And we're going to come back stronger in the tourism industry, in the festivals, the fairs, and the event industry. We just need to have that opportunity. Somebody needs to crack that door open a little bit. Hopefully Pfizer will do that. Hopefully Johnson & Johnson will do that. Hopefully we'll be able to mend now that the election is almost at a conclusion. We'll stop bickering and fighting and picking on each other, and we'll be able to pull together. I mean, when you said that somebody was upset because the voice of Pure Michigan endorsed a political campaign person, that's kind of like saying that my wife and I are never allowed to have a disagreement, and that's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. You know, I may want baked potatoes and she wants mashed potatoes. It doesn't matter. We're still going to have potatoes. So I know that wasn't a question. That was kind of a commentary on my heart. That I think that the Pure Michigan campaign is vital to the state of Michigan. Tourism is, depending on the year, number 2 or number 3 in the state as far as economic impact. And what you guys have always done, and especially the creativity this year with challenges in the funding, I think you guys have done a fantastic job, Dave. And I'm proud to be a partner of Pure Michigan.
Thanks, Mike. And I was actually on that Iron Fish shoot with Tom and Jim when they were talking about the innovation and innovative thoughts of our state, and in that case, a distillery making hand sanitizer. And by the way, I was just there the other day, and now they have like this village set up. So little tents outside, so you can still kind of gather with your friends, small groups, do it safely. It's innovation that has always gotten us through. We are the state of innovation, and we're going to be able to play a big role in finding ways to get around this thing too. So keep that in mind and be the innovators. You know, it's funny. Early in my career, when I was in radio, I never had a budget. But I can tell you, I was always proud of our team, the innovative, efficient, effective way they were able to get things done. And I did my part to try to get that done too. And when I went to Meyer, I had a colleague one time said she just didn't know how we could get certain things done that had never been done before. It's because of attitude. Because I know we have an experienced force out there in the festival and events world. We do. I came from festivals. This is what brought me to Travel Michigan. I know the importance of festivals and events, and I'm passionate about it. And I also know, because I've worked with so many people, that festivals and events people are the most innovative people you'll find. You're used to rolling with it. You're used to changing and coming up with last minute adjustments. And you'll get it done again. So stay strong, keep on moving forward, do all you can to open up as soon as you can safely, and let us know, because we're going to be there with you and we'll back you up 100%. Thanks again.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear from Mr. Pure Michigan himself, Dave Lorenz. Thank you very much, Dave.
Thank you. See ya.